Hello everyone. Today I wanted to show you the titles I picked up in the current Kino-Lorber June Swoon sale. There's lots of sales going on right now, including the Criterion half-priced Barnes & Noble sale. And I'll just give you a preview of what I picked up this morning, the first day of the Barnes & Noble half-price sale, and I'll do a video on what I picked up next week. Tuesday, Bringing Up Babies coming out, and I probably get a couple more. So rather than doing two different videos on the Criterions, I thought I would split it up. And so here's I'll split it up between Kino-Lorber today and one of the Criterion next week. So let's get to the Kino-Lorber sale. The first one is from 1943, and this is Hangman Also Die, starring Brian Donlevy, directed by Fritz Lang, written by Bertolt Brecht. I was surprised to see that. I didn't realize he had a Hollywood credit. He was in Hollywood at the time. Later would become a very famous theater playwright and theoretician, very influential, also with film directors and film writers. This is based on the fictionalized version of the assassination of General Heydrich during World War II, and I think it's Czechoslovakia, and then the retribution where the townspeople who were close to where the general was assassinated are rounded up, and there are executions begin until they give up who the killer was. Next up, 23 Paces to Baker Street. This stars Van Johnson, Vera Miles. Van Johnson plays a blind man who believes he's overheard a murder plot when he's sitting in a restaurant. Sounds like it would be a good double bill with Dario Argento's Cat o' Nine Tails. I've never seen this one before. Next up, this is another one I've never seen before, and this is from Louis Buñuel in the I think this was 56, and Buñuel was in exile from Generalissimo Franco. He was living in Mexico, self-imposed exile, and I've seen most of his Mexican movies, which are really wild and crazy, low budget, but just full of Buñuel's creative intensity. Here, I think this movie is made in Argentina, and he has stars from French cinema, Simone Signoret, and one of my favorites, Charles Vanel, and who a couple years before Death in the Garden appeared in The Wages of Fear. He's the older man who almost drowns in a sea of oil. He had an incredible career stretching just about every decade in film up to the 1980s. Next up is from 1957, it's Battle Hymn, and this is with Douglas Sirk, or directed by Douglas Sirk, with Rock Hudson, Martha Hyer, Dan Duryea. A story, a Korean wartime story of a bomber who is trying to atone for his sins of having killed so many civilians, and he runs an orphanage for Korean orphans, and then the war, of course, drags him back in. So his anti-war, more pacifist leanings are being challenged in order to save his children. I have seen this made a big effect on me when I was younger. It's not considered one of Douglas Sirk's greatest movies, but it certainly is one that I'm interested in revisiting. Next up is Accident. This is from 1967. This is a film directed by Joseph Losey, starring Dirk Bogarde, Stanley Baker, Jacqueline Cessard, Michael York, Vivian Merchant, a great cast. It is the middle film of Losey and Harold Pinter's collaboration, their trilogy really. The first two were very novelistic, The Servant and The Go-Between, and this is based on another novel as well by Nicholas Mosley. This is the most Harold Pinter of the three films. If you ever seen a Harold Pinter play on stage, this is mostly the kind of ambiance that you would find in a Pinter play on stage. It's not considered as good as The Servant and The Go-Between, although it did get a whole lot of awards on its release. It's always been my favorite because I'm a big Harold Pinter fan, and I like the Pinteresque qualities of this film, Accident. Next up, we have Doc, and Doc is from 1972. And this stars Stacy Keach, Faye Dunaway, Harris Yulin. It's the story of, it's the Wyatt Earp story. In 1972, revisionist time, Vietnam had challenged Americans to look back at their past and wondering if Vietnam have some relationship to the past and the way we view the past heroically. And in 1972, we started looking at our past, the United States past, a little bit more realistically what actually happened. Harris Yulin plays Wyatt Earp in this. And I can't recall whether they actually do the gunfight at the OK Corral. I suppose they do. I'd seen Harris Yulin on stage playing King Lear once, and whenever you go to a theater and you see somebody who's also in the movies on stage, you get a real kick when you see them in the movies, because on stage you get a real personal, not personal, but a much closer relationship to, they're actually real live people rather than just figures in a movie. Next up is Clint Eastwood's, I think this is his first film, Play Misty for Me. It stars Clint Eastwood and Jessica Walters in slasher mode on the cover. Donna Mills is in this movie. I'm a big fan of Donna Mills, so I'm always glad to have a movie that I can see her in. This is very much sort of a Don Siegel type thriller. Obviously, Clint Eastwood made quite a few films with Siegel. Now, I believe he said that Sergio Leone and Don Siegel were his examples, his mentors in his own directorial career. And speaking of Don Siegel, the next film I have is Charlie Varick, and this is a film that doesn't star Clint Eastwood, it stars Walter Matthau, and Walter Matthau's in his leading man days, his action hero here. He's an action hero. He does battle with the mafia, tries to avoid getting killed by the mafia in the form of Joe Don Baker. It also co-stars Felicia Farr, who is, I always loved seeing Felicia Farr. She was also in Kiss Me Deadly, Jack Lemmon's wife. I'm not sure, I believe they might have made a film together, I'm not sure, but this is Matthau without Lemmon, and he's an unlikely looking leading man, but he's awful good. And this is a really good movie, but I haven't seen it in a long time. Here's another movie I never saw before, and this is September 30th, 1955. It stars Richard Thomas, John Boy from the Waltons. The date is indicating the day that James Dean died. He was 1955. He was a big idol of teenagers, and he died in a car crash that was very traumatizing to teenagers of the time. So this is a film that is about their group of friends, teenage friends, who learn of his death and how they respond to it. And that's not all. Next up is a film from 1979. It's a French film called Buffet Freud, if I'm saying it correctly. And it's a film directed by Bertrand Blier, and his father, Bernard Blier, is one of the stars, the older man, next to Gerard Depardieu. Blier had a bunch of films. Get Out Your Handkerchiefs, another one that had some considerable success on the art film circuit. He had a very strange, kind of amoral view of life that seemed to really resonate with movie fans, at least art film movie fans of French cinema. He made another movie. I don't know if anybody out there has ever heard of it. It was called, I believe the English title was My Best Friend's Girl with Isabelle Huppert, and I always loved that. This movie I really wish would come to Blu-ray to see if it, I know I saw it 2 or 3 times when it was in the movies, but it seems to have vanished from sight. And that's not all. No, this is the last film. This is Finders Keepers, and this is from 1984, a Richard Lester movie. And I love Richard Lester movies, and he's got a revival of interest in his films. I know Steven Soderbergh is a big fan of Lester, and this stars Michael O'Keefe, Lou Gossett's in it, and a bunch of young actors. Some of them went on to other things, some of them went on to obscurity. Like I say, I haven't seen this, but Solitary Ronin on his channel, he did a whole series, a whole video looking through the career of Richard Lester, and he really highly recommends Finders Keepers. So that about wrap it up. Like I say, the Criterion sale is going on. Barnes & Noble online is also offering their Arrow collection at half price. Now, I've never seen an Arrow video in a Barnes & Noble physical store, and I checked online, and no one around me has any of the, and I live within an hour of about 10 different Barnes & Nobles, and they don't offer them in store, but you can get these Arrows online for half price. And I've heard, I haven't checked myself, that Amazon is price matching Barnes & Noble, so if you can't, you want to go through Amazon, you can do that as well. So again, that's my June Swoon Kino-Lorber sale. And next week, I'll have my Criterion Barnes & Noble sale to show you. So thanks a lot for everybody. I hope everybody has a lot of fun with these sales and doesn't spend too much money like I'm likely to do. I'm going for Bringing Up Baby. It's being released Tuesday, and it's going to be hard not to pick up 3 or 4 more when I'm going there to pick up Bringing Up Baby. But I hope you guys have a lot of fun with these sales, and you know, going to the store for me is a real kick. I love picking up stuff in hand. It's a special kick. Today there was nobody else there but me, but I had other duties today, so I had to get there right when they opened up. But it was a lot of fun, you know, looking through, and I found everything that I was looking for, which is always a very satisfying experience. So anyways, you guys take care, and I will catch you next time.